It was supposed to be a quiet afternoon patrol on a dusty rural road. Until Officer Ryan noticed something strange. A German shepherd standing in the middle of the road, blocking his path. The dog wasn't aggressive. He was pleading. At first, Ryan thought it was just a lost animal, until the dog did something that sent chills down his spine. It lifted a paw, looked straight into his eyes, and barked desperately as if trying to speak. When Ryan stepped out of his car, the dog grabbed his sleeve and started pulling him toward the woods. What he found there would change everything. A race against time, a shocking discovery, and a moment that would redefine what loyalty truly means. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The afternoon sun burned softly over the long stretch of a rural highway, the kind of road that seemed to go on forever. Officer Ryan Cooper rolled down his window, letting the warm breeze sweep through the patrol car. The rhythmic hum of the tires against the dirt road was the only sound breaking the silence. It had been an uneventful shift, just another quiet day in a small town where not much ever happened. Still, Ryan stayed alert. Years of service had taught him that peace could shatter in a heartbeat. His cruiser's dashboard shimmered under the sunlight as he scanned the horizon. Fields of golden grass swayed gently on both sides, telephone poles standing like sentinels under a cloudless sky. Ryan reached for his coffee cup but froze when something unusual caught his eye. About 50 yards ahead, right in the middle of the road, stood a lone German shepherd. The dog didn't move. It wasn't running or crossing, it was waiting. Its ears stood tall, eyes locked straight at him, posture rigid. Ryan slowed the vehicle, squinting. The dog took a hesitant step forward, then sat down again, almost as if it had been expecting him. Ryan frowned. "What are you doing out here, buddy?" he murmured, easing the car to a stop. Something about the dog's stance sent a chill through him, like it was trying to say something. Ryan stepped out of his cruiser, the crunch of gravel under his boots breaking the silence. The dog's head tilted slightly, ears twitching as if it recognized his voice. Its fur shimmered in the afternoon light, a mix of tan and sable, dust clinging to its legs like it had been running for miles. But what caught Ryan's attention wasn't the dog's exhaustion. It was the look in its eyes. Not wild, not fearful, just desperate. "Hey there, Easy," Ryan said gently, keeping his hands visible. He had dealt with strays before, but this was different. The German shepherd didn't back away. Instead, it let out a low whine, stood on its hind legs, and lifted one paw toward him. For a second, Ryan just stared, stunned by the strangely human gesture. The dog barked once, sharp and commanding, then turned its head toward the distant tree line before looking back at him again. Ryan frowned, following its gaze. There was nothing visible, just a shimmer of heat above the tall grass. The dog barked again, louder this time, then took a few quick steps toward the woods before stopping and glancing back at him. It was pleading, not for food, not for attention, but for help. Ryan's gut tightened. Something was wrong. He could feel it. Whatever this dog wanted him to see, it wasn't ordinary. Ryan took a cautious step forward, his hand resting near his utility belt. The German shepherd didn't retreat. Instead, it barked once, sharp and deliberate, before turning and running several feet toward the woods. Then it stopped, looking back over its shoulder, tail stiff, eyes locked on Ryan as if to say, "Follow me." Ryan hesitated. He had seen trained dogs act this way, K9 units signaling danger or trying to alert handlers, but this one wasn't wearing any collar or vest. "You trying to show me something?" he muttered. The dog barked again, took a few more steps, then froze, waiting. A faint breeze rustled through the tall grass, carrying the faintest whine from somewhere deep within the trees. Ryan's instincts flared. He couldn't ignore that sound. He grabbed his radio. "Dispatch, this is Officer Cooper. I'm stopping for a possible animal distress situation off County Road 14. I'll investigate on foot." "Copy that." "Officer Cooper," came the calm reply. Ryan moved cautiously toward the tree line, boots crunching through dry grass, his eyes tracking the dog that trotted ahead, glancing back every few seconds. The sun glared overhead and sweat trickled down his temple. Something told him this wasn't just about a lost pet. There was urgency in that bark, almost fear. The dog darted ahead, weaving through the tall grass like it knew exactly where to go. Ryan followed, one hand on his radio, the other brushing away branches as he stepped off the dirt road and into the shade of the woods. The ground was uneven, scattered with dry leaves and twigs that crunched under his boots. Sunlight filtered through the canopy, casting golden streaks across the forest floor. Every few seconds the dog would stop, glance back to make sure he was still following, then continue deeper into the trees. "All right, I'm coming," Ryan muttered, his pulse quickening. The air grew heavier, filled with the scent of damp earth and pine. Somewhere ahead, a faint noise, a soft whimper drifted through the stillness. Ryan froze, his ears straining. It wasn't the wind. It was a sound of pain, fragile, desperate. The German shepherd barked sharply, confirming what he heard, then sprinted toward the noise. Ryan picked up his pace, pushing through the undergrowth. "Dispatch, I think I've got an injured animal here. Moving in for visual confirmation," he said into his radio. As he stepped into a small clearing, the dog stopped abruptly, tail tucked, whining softly. Ryan followed its gaze, and then his heart tightened. Something was lying just beyond the brush, half hidden in the dirt. Ryan's breath caught as he crouched low, brushing aside a curtain of tall grass. The male German shepherd barked frantically, digging at the ground with its paws, sending dirt flying. Then Ryan saw her. Another dog, a female, lying on her side, half buried under broken fence panels and tangled weeds. Her fur was matted with mud and blood, her chest rising and falling in weak, shallow breaths. "Easy, easy now," Ryan whispered, his voice trembling. The injured dog's eyes fluttered open, deep brown and full of pain. She let out a faint whimper, trying to move but unable to. The male barked again, circling her protectively as if begging Ryan to do something. Ryan reached for his radio. "Dispatch, this is Officer Cooper. I found 2 dogs. One appears severely injured. Requesting immediate animal rescue to my location." Static crackled. "Copy that, Officer Cooper." "What's the condition?" "She's in bad shape," Ryan said quietly, watching as the male licked the female's muzzle, whining softly. "Might not have much time." He knelt beside them, careful not to startle the protective dog. "Hey, buddy," he murmured. "I'm here to help." The male froze, staring at him for a long moment, then stepped aside. It was as if he understood. The plea in his eyes was unmistakable. "Save her." Ryan knelt beside the wounded dog, his heart pounding as he assessed the scene. The female German shepherd was tangled in rusted barbed wire, part of a collapsed fence that looked like it had fallen days ago. Every time she tried to move, the wire dug deeper into her leg, drawing fresh blood. Her breathing was shallow, labored, and her eyes, those terrified eyes, met his with a silent plea. "Easy, girl. Don't move," Ryan said softly, removing his gloves. The male dog whimpered, pacing nervously in tight circles, his ears pinned back. He didn't want anyone near her, but he also knew Ryan was her only hope. Ryan examined the wire. It was wrapped tightly around her hind leg and torso, biting deep into the fur. "You poor thing," he whispered. He reached into his belt for his utility knife and carefully began cutting the wire strand by strand. Each snip made the female flinch, but Ryan worked fast, ignoring the sweat rolling down his temple. When the last piece came loose, the dog let out a weak groan and collapsed fully against the dirt. Ryan pressed his hand gently to her side. She was still breathing, barely. He looked up at the male shepherd and said, voice steady, "Hang in there, buddy. We're not losing her today." Ryan's hands moved fast, his pulse hammering in his ears. The female shepherd whimpered softly, her breathing shallow. He pressed the radio again. "Dispatch, the dog's losing blood. I need animal rescue now." "Copy that, Officer Cooper." "Estimated ETA, 15 minutes." The voice crackled back. 15 minutes. She didn't have 15 minutes. Ryan gritted his teeth, scanning for anything to stop the bleeding. His eyes landed on the first aid kit in his patrol belt. He tore it open, pulling out a sterile gauze and a roll of tape. "Hang in there, girl," he whispered, wrapping the wound tight. The male dog stayed close, whining, nudging her muzzle gently. His eyes flicked between Ryan's face and hers, trembling with worry. "It's okay, buddy," Ryan murmured. "I'm not going to let her die." He slipped his jacket beneath the injured dog to keep her off the cold dirt, then used his knife to cut away more wire still pressing into her fur. The air smelled of rust and sweat. Her chest rose unevenly and Ryan felt panic clutch his gut. He pressed his hand gently against her side. The faint thump of her heartbeat was still there, but fading. Ryan clenched his jaw. "No more waiting," he muttered. "We're doing this ourselves." Ryan slid his arms beneath the wounded shepherd, trying to lift her carefully, but the male dog suddenly barked and lunged forward, blocking him. His hackles rose, teeth bared, not in aggression but in panic. He stood protectively over the female, his body trembling, eyes wide with fear. Hey, easy, Ryan said firmly but calmly, raising one hand. He could see the conflict in the dog's face, fear of losing her mixed with desperation to save her. I'm not your enemy, boy. I'm trying to help. The male growled low, pacing in front of her. Each time Ryan moved, the dog shifted too, keeping himself between them. Ryan slowly crouched, lowering his voice. Listen, I know how you feel. You've been fighting to keep her alive, but you need me now. He placed a hand gently on the ground, palm up, letting the dog come to him. The German Shepherd hesitated, then sniffed cautiously, tail flicking nervously. Ryan didn't move. Finally, after a tense moment, the male exhaled a shaky breath and stepped aside, licking the female's ear as if to reassure her. Good boy, Ryan whispered, his voice breaking. He slid his arms beneath the injured dog again, this time unhindered. As he lifted her gently, the male followed close behind, every step filled with trust and fear of losing the one he loved. Ryan's adrenaline surged as he lifted the injured shepherd into his arms. Her body felt limp, frighteningly light. Stay with me, girl, he whispered, his voice breaking. The male dog followed close, barking anxiously, tail low, paws kicking up dust as they ran. The path back to the road seemed longer than before. Every second felt like a battle against time. Ryan's breath grew heavy, but he didn't slow down. When he reached the cruiser, he gently placed the wounded dog on the back seat, using his jacket as a makeshift stretcher. Blood stained the fabric, but she was still breathing. Barely. Dispatch, I'm transporting the injured animal myself, Ryan said into his radio, slamming the door shut. Tell the vet clinic I'm 5 minutes out. Copy that, Officer Cooper. Clinic's standing by. He jumped behind the wheel, started the engine, and hit the siren. The cruiser roared down the empty road, lights flashing against the endless fields. The male shepherd sat in the passenger seat, whining, his eyes fixed on his mate. Ryan's hands gripped the wheel tighter. Hold on, both of you, he muttered, pressing harder on the gas. The engine roared louder, and the miles blurred beneath them. Somewhere deep inside, Ryan knew. This was no longer a rescue. It was a fight for life. The siren wailed through the countryside as Ryan sped down the winding road, heart pounding in rhythm with the flashing lights. Dust swirled behind the cruiser, the tires screaming across the asphalt. The male shepherd stood on the passenger seat, refusing to sit, his paws pressed against the window, eyes locked on the faint rise and fall of the injured female's chest in the back seat. Ryan glanced in the mirror.
Hang in there, girl.
We're almost there, he said, voice tight with urgency. The dog gave a faint whimper, her breathing uneven. He pressed harder on the gas, the speedometer needle climbing. Up ahead, the Red Cross symbol of the small-town veterinary clinic came into view. Relief and fear hit him at once. He flicked the siren off and skidded into the gravel driveway, stopping inches from the clinic's doors. Help! I've got an injured shepherd, he shouted, throwing open his door. 2 vet assistants rushed out with a stretcher. The male dog barked frantically, running circles as Ryan lifted the female into the waiting arms of the staff. Her paw twitched once before falling still. Get her inside, Ryan ordered. The vet nodded, rushing her through the doors. Ryan followed, the male dog right beside him, his eyes filled with fear, love, and hope all at once. The clinic door swung open as the vet team rushed the stretcher inside. Ryan followed close behind, his heart pounding. The sharp smell of antiseptic filled the air, mixing with the soft beeps of medical monitors. The male shepherd paced in frantic circles, whining, his nails clicking on the tiled floor. Set her on table 3, the veterinarian shouted. Her gloved hands moved quickly, checking vitals, cleaning wounds, cutting away the matted fur. She's lost a lot of blood, one assistant warned. Ryan stood frozen at the doorway, feeling helpless. He had saved lives before, but never felt this kind of ache, the fear of losing a soul that couldn't even speak. The male dog stopped pacing and sat beside Ryan, eyes fixed on the operating table. Every whimper from the female made him twitch. Ryan knelt beside him and gently placed a hand on his neck. She's strong, he whispered, trying to convince himself as much as the dog. Minutes stretched like hours. The clock ticked loudly in the background, mocking the silence. Finally, the vet looked up, her expression unreadable. She's still fighting, she said quietly. But it's critical. The next few minutes will decide everything. Ryan swallowed hard, his eyes burning. The male dog whimpered again, a soft, trembling sound that carried both hope and heartbreak. The minutes dragged like hours. Every sound in the room felt amplified. The ticking clock, the quiet hum of the medical machines, the ragged rhythm of the injured shepherd's breathing. Ryan stood motionless beside the door, his hands clenched tightly, the weight of helplessness pressing down on him. The male dog lay on the floor now, his head between his paws, eyes never leaving the table. Suddenly, one of the monitors beeped erratically. "Pressure's dropping," a vet assistant shouted. The vet leaned over the dog, her tone sharp but controlled. "I need more saline, now." Ryan's heart stopped. He could barely breathe. "Come on, girl," he whispered under his breath. "You made it this far. Don't give up now." The vet worked quickly, her hands steady. For a terrifying moment, the monitor went flat. Ryan's stomach twisted. The male dog whimpered, a sound so broken it felt human. Then, just as hope began to fade, the faint beeping returned. "She's stabilizing," the vet said, voice trembling with relief. "She's weak, but she's still with us." Ryan exhaled shakily, his knees nearly giving out. The male shepherd pressed against his leg, tail flicking weakly. Ryan knelt beside him, whispering, "You did it, buddy. You saved her." For the first time that day. The dog closed his eyes, not in defeat but in exhausted relief. Days passed, and the small-town clinic became a second home for Ryan. Every morning, he stopped by before his shift, coffee in one hand and quiet hope in his chest. The female shepherd, now strong enough to lift her head, watched him with soft, grateful eyes each time he entered. Her once weak tail began to thump gently against the blanket when she heard his voice. The male dog, never far from her side, had refused to leave the clinic at all. He slept beside her crate every night, his muzzle resting near her paw as if guarding her dreams. The vet staff had nicknamed them the Inseparables. Whoever abandoned them didn't deserve them, the vet said one morning, checking the female's bandages. "Looks like they came from a breeding site. There were marks, chains maybe. They probably escaped together." Ryan's jaw tightened. He couldn't imagine what they'd endured, yet despite it all, their loyalty had never wavered. The bond between man and dogs deepened each day. Ryan often sat on the floor beside them, talking softly while the male rested his head on his knee. "You've got the heart of a soldier," he'd whisper. By the end of the week, the female shepherd stood again, wobbly, but alive. When she took her first few steps, Ryan couldn't help but smile. "That's it, girl," he murmured. "You're a fighter." A week later, the clinic smelled of fresh bandages and disinfectant, but for once the air carried a sense of peace. The female shepherd had made a full recovery, her wounds healed, her spirit shining through her gentle eyes. The male stayed faithfully by her side, nudging her to walk, licking her muzzle when she hesitated. Their bond was unbreakable. Ryan watched them from across the room, a faint smile on his face. "They belong together," the vet said softly, noticing his expression. "And maybe they belong with you." He looked down at the adoption form she handed him. For a moment he hesitated, thinking of the long patrol hours and quiet nights at home. Then he glanced at the dogs, their hopeful eyes, their story of survival, and his hesitation melted away. "I'll take them both," he said with quiet certainty. The paperwork didn't take long. When the vet handed him the leashes, the male wagged his tail wildly, while the female pressed her head gently against Ryan's leg, as if to say thank you. He crouched down, smiling through misty eyes. "You're Max," he said, patting the male's head. Then he turned to the female. "And you? You're Luna." Both dogs wagged their tails in unison, their new names sealing the start of a new life, together, and finally safe. The morning sun stretched across the open road, painting the world in soft gold. Ryan drove slowly this time, not in uniform, not on duty, just a man with two loyal companions by his side. Max sat upright in the passenger seat, alert and proud, while Luna rested peacefully in the back, her head on a blanket. The gentle hum of the cruiser blended with the quiet rhythm of their breathing. As they reached the same stretch of road where it had all begun, Ryan pulled over and turned off the engine. The world fell silent again, just as it had that fateful afternoon. He opened the doors and the two dogs jumped out, tails wagging, eyes bright with new life. Ryan smiled, watching them run through the tall grass, free, healthy, together. Luna stopped to look back at him, her ears perked, and Max gently nudged her forward before turning his gaze to Ryan with a look that said, "Thank you." He knelt down, arms resting on his knees, emotion swelling in his chest. "You two saved each other," he whispered. As the wind brushed past and the dogs ran toward the horizon, the camera would fade on Ryan's voice. Sometimes heroes don't wear badges or uniforms. Sometimes they walk on four paws.